In the upscale neighborhood of Crestwood, nestled among sprawling estates, stood the magnificent Ashford Manor, home to Richard Ashford, the CEO of a prominent textile company, and his wife, Eleanor. The mansion was a symbol of wealth and privilege, with its manicured gardens, grand entrance, and ornate decor. However, within these walls a storm was brewing, one that would unravel the lives of those who called it home. Martha Thompson, a 43-year-old single mother of 3, had been working as a cleaner at Ashford Manor for nearly 3 years. Before that, she had spent nearly 2 decades working for various families in Crestwood, building a reputation as a diligent and trustworthy employee. She took immense pride in her work, believing that every corner she scrubbed and every room she tidied contributed to the comfort of those she served. Martha had faced many challenges in life. After the death of her husband from cancer 5 years ago, she had been left to raise their 3 children, Daniel, the eldest at 18, and twins, Lily and Jacob, both 10. Her late husband's illness had drained their finances, and Martha worked tirelessly to keep a roof over her children's heads and food on the table. She was their rock, determined to provide them with a better life despite the odds stacked against her. As she entered the manor one crisp autumn morning, the scent of polished wood and freshly brewed coffee greeted her. The day began like any other, with Martha slipping into her cleaning routine, dusting surfaces, and vacuuming carpets. However, she quickly noticed a shift in the atmosphere. Eleanor, known for her cheerful disposition, was acting strangely cold and distant. "Martha, have you seen my diamond bracelet?" Eleanor barked as she rushed past, her voice laced with irritation. "No, ma'am, I haven't," Martha replied, perplexed by the sudden hostility. Eleanor's demeanor only worsened throughout the morning, her sharp words cutting through the air like a knife. The other cleaners exchanged worried glances, sensing the tension building between their employer and Martha. Later that day, as Martha attempted to clean the children's playroom, she found the door locked. "Can I have the key, please?" she asked a passing staff member, but her request was met with a dismissive wave. Something was clearly wrong, and Martha's intuition told her it had to do with Eleanor's unsettling behavior. A few hours later, Eleanor summoned all the cleaners to the lavish living room, a grand space adorned with expensive art and plush furnishings. As they gathered, the tension in the room was palpable. Martha's heart raced. She couldn't shake the feeling that she was about to be implicated in something she hadn't done. "Good afternoon, everyone," Eleanor began, her voice dripping with feigned sweetness. "I have gathered you here today to discuss a serious matter." Martha felt her stomach churn. She exchanged worried glances with her colleagues, who looked equally confused. "I pride myself on treating each of you like family," Eleanor continued, her tone shifting from cordial to accusatory. "But it has come to my attention that someone here has taken advantage of my generosity." Martha's breath caught in her throat. "Ma'am, what do you mean?" she asked, her voice trembling. Eleanor narrowed her eyes. "Martha, you have stolen 2 Rolex watches from my drawer. Watches worth over $20,000 each." "I want an explanation." Gasps filled the room. "That's not true. I would never steal from you," Martha protested, her shock turning to indignation. "I have worked for you for years. You know my character. Don't lie to me," Eleanor shouted, her voice echoing off the walls. "You're the only one with access to my room. If you didn't take them, then who did? Do you think I misplaced them?" The accusations were unfounded, and the other cleaners stood in disbelief. "Ma'am, I promise I didn't take your watches. Let me help you find them," Martha offered, desperation creeping into her voice. Eleanor scoffed. "Oh, so now you want to search my room? What a convenient excuse to steal even more from me." Martha felt the heat rise to her face as she fought back tears. "Please, I would never do something like that. You know me." Richard Ashford, Eleanor's husband, entered the room, sensing the tension. "What's going on?" he asked, looking between his wife and the cleaners. "Your maid here is a thief," Eleanor spat, pointing a finger at Martha. "She's stolen my watches." "Is that true, Martha?" Richard asked, his brow furrowing. I swear I didn't take anything, sir. I have never stolen from you. Not once in all these years. Martha pleaded, her voice cracking. I'm a single mother. I work hard for what I have. Please, believe me. Richard crossed his arms, glancing at Eleanor, who wore a triumphant smirk. You have 1 hour to gather your things and leave my property, he declared coldly. Sir, please. I can't lose my job. I need this. Martha's pleas fell on deaf ears as Richard turned his back on her, his decision made. Enough. Leave now, or I will call the police, he warned, his tone final. Heartbroken, Martha gathered her belongings, tears streaming down her face. The other cleaners offered her sympathetic looks, but none dared to speak up against Eleanor's wrath. As she exited the mansion, she felt the weight of the world pressing down on her shoulders. She had worked so hard for this job, and now it was slipping away because of baseless accusations. Outside, she sat on a bench in the garden, watching the leaves fall from the trees, her heart heavy with despair. How could she clear her name? She couldn't believe that Richard, whom she had always respected, would turn against her so easily. The thought of going home and facing her children without a job was unbearable. After a moment of reflection, she wiped her tears and decided she wouldn't give up without a fight. Martha's pride wouldn't let her walk away from this injustice. She needed to prove her innocence, not just for herself but for her children. Martha took a deep breath and walked back toward the mansion. She knew she needed to confront Richard one last time, to appeal to his sense of justice and reason. She approached the front door and knocked, her heart racing. Richard opened the door, surprise flashing across his face. "What are you doing back here?" he asked, his voice clipped. "I need to speak with you. Please, just give me a moment," Martha pleaded, desperation creeping into her tone. Reluctantly, Richard stepped aside, allowing her to enter. "Make it quick," he said, irritation evident in his voice. "Sir, I understand that Eleanor has accused me of theft, but I swear to you, I am innocent," Martha began. "You know me, my work ethic, and my honesty. I wouldn't dare take anything from you." Richard remained silent, his expression unreadable. "Think about it. Eleanor has misplaced things before. Her wedding ring, jewelry. Remember when I found her diamond earrings under the couch? This isn't the first time," Martha continued, her voice steadying as she spoke. "What if she lost the watches and is just blaming me to cover up her mistake?" Richard looked thoughtful for a moment, but his expression hardened again. "That's a serious accusation, Martha. You're implying my wife is lying." "No, sir. I'm saying that sometimes people overlook their own mistakes," Martha replied, her voice steady. "I know I can't change your mind right now, but I'm willing to help you find the watches. I can prove my innocence." Richard sighed, running a hand through his hair. "Fine. You can search the room," he said reluctantly. "But if you're lying, I'll make sure you never work in this town again." Martha followed Richard to the master bedroom, her heart pounding in her chest. The opulent space was a far cry from her modest home, filled with expensive furniture and elegant decor. As Richard opened the drawer of the nightstand, he found nothing but dust. He rifled through other drawers, growing increasingly frustrated. "Nothing here," he muttered, annoyance coloring his tone. "Maybe check the sock drawer?" Martha suggested, her instincts kicking in. Sometimes, people put things in places they wouldn't normally think to look. Richard's brow furrowed, but he opened the drawer, and there, nestled among the socks, lay the 2 missing Rolex watches. Richard's face paled as he stared at them, realization dawning. "Oh my God," he muttered. "I had no idea." Martha felt a surge of relief wash over her. "See? I told you I didn't take them," she said, her voice trembling with emotion. Richard looked at her, guilt and regret etched across his face. "I'm so sorry, Martha. I should have believed you. This is all my fault." Richard returned to the living room, watches in hand, where Eleanor sat, arms crossed and a scowl on her face. "What do you want?" she snapped. "I want to apologize to Martha," Richard said, his voice firm. "These watches were never stolen. They were misplaced in your sock drawer." Eleanor's eyes widened in disbelief. How dare you? You're blaming me? I'm not blaming anyone. I'm just stating the facts, Richard replied, his voice unwavering. Martha deserves an apology. She has worked hard for us, and I was wrong to doubt her. Eleanor's face turned a deep shade of crimson. I demand she leave this house. She's a thief. Martha took a step forward, feeling the need to stand up for herself. I'm not a thief, Mrs. Ashford. I have dedicated years to this job, and I never took anything from you. I'm just a woman trying to support my family. Richard held up a hand, silencing Eleanor. You need to apologize to Martha. This has gone too far. After a tense moment, Eleanor finally relented. Fine. I'm sorry, she said through gritted teeth. But you're still a cleaner. On the day of their first community event, Martha stood on stage, addressing the crowd. Thank you all for being here today. Together, we can create change in our community and support those in need, she declared, her voice steady. Richard stood beside her, beaming with pride. We are stronger together, and I am grateful for the work Martha has done, he said, acknowledging her contributions. As the event concluded, Eleanor approached Martha, a proud smile on her face. You have a gift for bringing people together. I'm so glad we have become friends, she said, embracing Martha warmly. Martha felt a wave of gratitude wash over her. Thank you for believing in me, Eleanor. Together, we can accomplish so much. Months turned into years, and Martha's life continued to flourish. She secured a stable income, providing her children with the opportunities she had dreamed of. Daniel graduated high school with honors, and both Lily and Jacob thrived in their studies, inspired by their mother's determination. Richard and Eleanor remained supportive allies, working hand in hand to better their community. They became advocates for underprivileged families, organizing events to raise funds and awareness for local causes. Martha often reflected on her journey, grateful for the strength she had found within herself. She had faced adversity head-on and emerged victorious, not only for herself but for her children and the community she loved. Years later, as Martha stood in front of a crowd at a community center event, she couldn't help but feel proud of how far she had come. The challenges she faced had only fueled her determination to make a difference in the world. Together, we can create a brighter future, she proclaimed, her voice echoing through the hall. Let's continue to support each other and lift one another up. Our strength lies in our unity. As the crowd erupted in applause, Martha smiled, knowing that her journey had only just begun. She had proven that no matter how difficult the circumstances, one person's courage and resilience could spark a change that resonated far beyond their own life. And in doing so, she had forged a legacy of hope for generations to come.